everybody. Welcome to a super fun guide to Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop RPGs at WonderCon at home.
Yeah!
WonderCon 2021.
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is Jeff Burns. I am the creator and host of Super Geeked Up and a geeky improv comedy show. I'll be your moderator for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this virtual panel. We're so glad you're here. We are going to talk all cool RPG, tabletop RPGs, Dungeons and Dragons, lots of other cool stuff. We're hopefully going to help you, guide you through this wonderful world of gaming. I have a bunch of great people here that are going to help you out. In the upper right hand of your screen, he is from Ultimate Fictional Character Podcast and the Mass Effect Adventum Actual Play Podcast. It is Matt Acevedo.
Hello.
Hey, Matt.
Thanks so much for having me, man. This is going to be so much fun.
Thanks for
We're already having a blast.
Got silent cheering going on. It's great.
It took us like an hour to get going because we were just having so much fun with each other.
That is totally true, folks. That is not an exaggeration. That'll be the bonus WonderCon content.
Yeah, exactly.
In the lower right of your screen, she is from Dimension 20's Pirates of Leviathan and Hyper RPGs KOLLOK 1991, Aabria Iyengar.
Yeah, hi. Oh, so hi. I won't do the cheering part.
Yeah, no, we'll cheer for you. Yeah.
Yeah, cheer for me. Wait, can we cuss on this? I'll see myself.
Okay, WonderCon prefers you to not cuss. I'll tell you that.
Oops.
So this panel's already, not a great start.
Shot.
In the lower left of your screen, he is from Rey Nation and Power Play RPG, Omar Najam.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Hey, WonderCon. I haven't missed a single WonderCon since I started high school. Fun fact.
I remember you told me.
Yeah.
Real?
Yeah. So the streak stays real thanks to this panel.
Yes.
All right, I'm glad that's the only reason I did it, actually.
Yeah. It was weird that was like in the email.
Yeah.
Help Omar Streak. And I was like,
Help
who?
Omar Streak.
Where am I?
Yeah, subject line.
That's actually what I also sent to WonderCon. That's why they approved it.
I appreciate everyone helping me out with this. So thank you.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So I have some questions for these guys, and I also my Super Geeked Up viewers. We asked them this past week to send in some questions, so I'm going to have some viewer questions that we sent in advance. I like to always kick things off with a fun question, though that's still related to gaming. So I will ask you guys: what movie, TV show, book, etc. do you wish there was a tabletop RPG for? So I know that a lot of them already exist, but let's think of something that does not exist yet that you wish there was an RPG for. Aabria looks super excited, so I'm going to start with her.
Oh my God. You know what? I gotta go Fast and Furious. Like,
oh, nice.
I have written a hack. I've seen hacks of it, but I want a full, like, licensed IP drippy, just full Fast and Furious, because there's nothing like that is our Lord of the Rings. And I don't know if people appreciate that enough or not, but it is.
You have so much fun playing characters in that.
Yeah. Oh, you just walk around with a big wrench and talk about family. It's so good.
And like it would kind of work like Kick-Ass with Bubblegum, Kick-Ass 2 Bubblegum, because it's like how cool can you make this? How like
exactly,
how ridiculous can you make this? Which is so fun. I love that.
Great answer. All right, Matt, what about you? Okay, Omar, what about you?
My answer is actually on screen right now because it's the shirt that you're wearing, Jeff.
Oh my God, this is my answer too.
Really? Okay, great minds. Scooby-Doo, right?
Yes.
I want like that tiki level, like Mystery Inc. Scooby-Doo universe where you just run around beach towns, you get in the van, you go to like some dark woods, you go do that thing, you come back. I want that. I want Halloween or the RPG.
Yes.
That's what I would love.
Oh my God, dude. I totally want to solve mysteries as a teenager. I also, when you need to get a rest and recuperate, you go to the malt shop and you down some pizza, hamburgers, and milkshakes.
Exactly. Yeah. That's your short and long rest. Right? It's just a giant sandwich.
Right. How big is the sandwich is how much you recuperate your hit points.
That's awesome.
That's
all right,
so
Matt,
good.
what about you?
Okay. For me, I've said this before. I'm going to say it one more time. And then, so I really want a One Piece anime manga, like tabletop RPG, because it would be so amazing. There are some fan-made ones, but I want an official one. And but because I gave that one, I also want to say Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because that doesn't have an RPG system, and that is a huge, massive world that is yet to be explored. You can do so much in it, and the classes, the character creation would be so much fun and so rich. I can't believe we don't have that. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, you're so right. That'd be so good.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So those are
All
my
right.
two.
Okay, I have another answer. I know we're not going to do this, but I'll keep doing it forever.
I cheated. I totally cheated.
No, there's a cool thing in Good Society. Like Good Society is like a cool like Jane Austen era RPG. I want one for like 1930s like Katharine Hepburn screwball comedies
Oh,
where you have
my
to play
gosh.
deeply in genre. That
That's
like
sick.
Some desk
Something
set
ridiculous.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yes. Woman of the
exactly.
year, 100%. I love that.
Yeah.
something that forces you to go real in the pot. Like Fiasco kind of does that, but like
Mhm.
one like this is exactly what we're doing. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Awesome. All right, great choices, everybody. All right, folks. So we have some questions. Some of them designed for new gamers, some for more veteran ones. We want to try to include everybody here. So I'll start with this, and based on Aabria's little lower thirds there, this is a perfect question for her, obviously. For those totally new to RPGs, what exactly is a tabletop RPG, and can you give example of what happens during a game? So,
Is that what that stands for? Oh my God.
yes. So can you, Aabria, why don't you?
No, go to someone else. I'm processing. This is a lot for me right now.
All right, let's go. Do you really want me to go somewhere else?
Yeah, it's fine. Sorry, what was the question? Like,
It's like
tabletop
if you're
role-play
brand new,
game-
if you've never done it
yeah.
yet.
So tabletop roleplay games are these like very narratively driven story games that you can sit down. There's opportunities for you to like make characters right before, or you can like sit and kind of craft out heroes that you like in fiction. And you usually with the help of like one person at the table that's acting as like the primary driver of like the story, sometimes called a dungeon master, sometimes called a game master, helps you and your full table tell a full story from start to finish. There are lots of games that can last for like a single session, which is like 2 or 3 hours. And then there are games that are built to tell like campaign long, hundreds of hours long stories. So you can find something for you and your group.
Awesome, that's well done. So for someone who's never heard of it, yeah, you're amazing.
I just made that up.
Omar or Matt, anything you want to add to that, or maybe any kind of example for people of what actually like happens?
Ooh. I mean, there's dice mechanics in quite a few, which is kind of like a fun element of it. And if you're brand new to RPG, like I've got mine right on my desk. These are my BLM dice right there.
That's awesome.
And I've got several there. That becomes a big element of it. So while there is the definition of kind of there's like paper and pen, and you do all this stuff. A lot of it is just collecting dice and then trying to justify that collection.
But it's true. Like yes, there's a random element, right, of how you succeed or not by rolling the dice.
Yeah, it's really good for people like me who like to own physical things, because I have books that are just shelves of books of RPGs that and just regular books that I just like to have. It's really great.
I sure do. I love just going through the book, even if I haven't
Yeah,
played
me
it.
too.
Just like read.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, so to all of you all asked, what do you think are the biggest barriers that maybe stop people from trying Dungeons and Dragons or any kind of tabletop RPG? Matt, maybe I'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I think that it sounds daunting. Like for my girlfriend, she's never really played before, but when I broke it down to her that it's more like improv, it was a little bit more accessible for her. But I think reading through this massive book and looking at numbers and crunching them and keeping track of all these feats and everything, I think it can be a bit overwhelming for people. And I think that barrier right there is something that people need to kind of get through. And I think if you shift your kind of perspective and use think of these scary numbers and words and stuff like that as almost like guidelines to help formulate a story and to drive your character, I think it's kind of like a better way to look at it, because at the end of the day, like you have to ask what you want out of it. And I don't think anyone who likes the numbers is going to have a problem accessing it. It's the people who are, I think, who might have a problem. So I think you have to think to yourself, what am I trying to get out of this? And if you're trying to have fun and like with your friends and goof around, or like you're trying to tell a story, like that should be like the forefront of it. And if you think of it that way, everything else should be like at the, not the backbone of it, but it comes easier, in my opinion. So
Sure. Omar, Aabria, anything to add to that?
I would say another element that kind of gets in the way sometimes is I was very lucky. My buddy Drew GM'd my first game, and so I just had a blast right out the gate. But lots of times, if you just jump into a session or jump into a game that's not exactly your cup of tea, or it's with a group of players that play differently, don't worry about it. It's kind of like doing, you know, any sort of performance or art. If something doesn't quite match, there's just so many people out there who have similar interests to you that are also playing. So, you know, just find another group, try another one shot, that kind of stuff.
That's great advice, because I actually had bad experiences my first times playing.
Oh no, really?
And so I actually only started a few years ago. I'm not like a super long time. So here's the thing.
That's
I tried
awesome.
to, you too?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Matt's
I
like,
appreciate
no.
that.
No, I've been here forever.
He's like, I've been playing since I was born. So I actually tried to play when I first went away to college. There was like an RPG group, right?
Yeah.
But the first meeting I went to, and the first thing like the person running it said is like, so everybody knows what RPG is, right? And I was like, I don't have a freaking clue. And like said my head, right? And I was like pretty shy back then. So I felt like, oh, I don't belong here because I don't know what these guys are doing, right? So one thing I would recommend to everybody, as much as you can, I think really try to be open and inclusive of everyone doing this, right?
Yeah.
And then when I got more into it more recently, the first like real game I play, like I died almost instantly.
It do be that way sometimes.
But anyway, but then like since then, obviously I found a lot of amazing people who are very open and very great with new people, right? And that's what I always try to do, obviously, because now when we do these panels in person, like actually Omar has done this with me, we actually run sessions for people at Comic-Con after we run sessions for people after our Comic-Con panels, right? So yeah, so I agree with you, Omar. Like I didn't give up though, even though I had a couple of bad sessions, right? Because I knew like I could keep at it. You would find the right people to play with. All right, I'm sorry, Aabria,
the only thing I want to jump on
for barriers?
Oh yeah, the only thing I want to jump in on is just the like, along with that sort of like shared frame of reference. I think there is like a very strong barrier to entry. If the thing that you know RPGs to be the most is like Dungeons and Dragons, that's really like high fantasy coded. So for people who are like, oh, I would like to tell a story, I don't know if I want to tell like something that feels like Lord of the Rings or like a Holy Grail quest, like there are lots of different genres to pick from. And like, there's so many flexible ways. Like, yeah, if you're not here for this number crunchy, like bunch of stats, bunch of math, like there's ways to play online where you don't even have to do the math. And there are games that are super light and super flexible that tell very specific stories that require just a little bit of like randomness inserted. So you don't need like a full battery of dice, though that is its own kind of fun too. So, yeah.
Yeah. Can I add something to that too? Because I if we have time, I don't know if
go for
you
it.
can shut me up if we got.
Just do it.
Do it.
I think another part that makes it a little bit, that may seem inaccessible, is that there are a lot of people who don't have people to play with, or have someone who they want to play but they don't have a GM. And to those people, I say they're you know like if you can't find someone, as scary as it might sound, like you can try GMing. And there are actually modules out there that kind of, if you have trouble creating your own story, there are modules and systems that are like made to aid you in storytelling. And you can even like we're in a digital era. We're fortunate for it because you can find people online who are looking to play. So you can literally reach out online, ask people to come play. Like in our Discord communities, I know people are playing together, which is awesome, and they don't live near each other. So I think if that's another thing, if you can't find people to play with, maybe start your own thing and you GM it.
And there are totally sites. If you are like, none of us want to be the GM, you can hire a GM. That's the thing.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
Just be like, you're the nerd that has to tell the story. We're just gonna show up and ruin it. Like that's like there's ways to go about finding all of it. Like check social media, Google as your friends, and
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Roll20 is a great site that I've used a lot. Actually, my longest games I played through Roll20, which is also a way to find, you can use it with your friends, but you also find people or who are looking for games or looking for GMs. It's a great place to do that. And also conventions. Convention is the first time I actually played a game. I was at a convention. I just decided to go play Pathfinder.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
So
you just jumped right in the deep end there,
with
Jeff.
the crunchiest great game.
I know,
Oh my gosh,
right? Yes, I went into Pathfinder.
Pathfinder was my first one too.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
Yeah.
That
You
is
can-
the bottom of the purse granola bar of
Hey, dude, I
games.
don't
Like,
mess
just
around.
a Nature Valley, just pile of
if you want to
crunch.
push someone, you got to roll to find out like
Yeah.
like 3 different things for that. Yeah.
Yes, a sense that I actually
Nothing but love for Pathfinder. That's not. I have a
I've
blast
played
with
a rules
Pathfinder.
light game actually since then, but that is the first one I tried.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
All right, cool. All right, let's go to the next question. So obviously, when we play these RPGs, we're supposed to be having fun, right? That's kind of the whole point of it. But sometimes not everyone's gelling at the table, right? And maybe it's not really fun sometimes. So what are the best things you think everyone can do? And I mean GMs and players to make sure everyone's having a good time. Omar, let's start with
Great question.
you. Thank you.
That is a really good question. I suppose whenever I'm GMing, I'm a little manipulative. And so what I like to do is kind of just reward folks, because there's this, like moments called hero moments where someone just goes and they just take out like a horde with this great spew of arrows or something. And then everyone claps and goes, that was really awesome. But also when someone sets up somebody else for success or supports them or does a great character move, rewarding them with a little bit of a spotlight. And I think that just kind of gets everyone to share it and realize how it's an ecosystem and you're a party together, and how the story benefits from moves of support and moves of people just being friends. So that's what I usually do. And that also translates to outside game where I try to implement that in real life as well.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in and say that one of my favorite things that I did when I was first kind of getting my reps as a player is I came from a sports background, and I actually used to track my stats in games, especially ones that I could go back and watch. And points are those big hero moments, but I also cared about rebounds and assists. Like, when did you set someone up for success? When did you rescue a moment from just breaking really bad? And that can be interpersonal bad. That can be narratively bad. I think those 2 stats are deeply undervalued. And if you play as a player with that in mind too, you can find ways to find fun in unconventional manners. I think the sort of once again, I will use D&D as a frame of reference, taking the help action in combat usually feels it feels individually and agents wise, never as cool. But if you start to think to yourself, how can I set something up, and kind of bake into your brain that that it's a critical part of building this sort of shared narrative moment, and really engaging on the set piece in a unique way that's satisfying for everyone at the table. You don't have to be the one that does 80 points of damage to feel like you're contributing in an encounter.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I like all of that is exactly what I also agree with. But also on top of that, I know sometimes there might be people who are in situations where, for example, maybe I'm playing at a place with people I don't know for the first time, and one person, 3 people are trying to progress the story or whatever, and one person is trying to be this agent of chaos and just I go over here and I stab a person and stuff like that. Your group should be on the same page. So if that happens, I think it's the GM's responsibility to kind of pause everything, have a conversation. What are you doing? What are we trying to get out of this? Because this isn't because you're right now that's all that you're being selfish. And in order for this to really have a good time, it's a team effort. As Aabria and Omar are saying. So just making sure that we're all kind of on the same page of what we're trying to get out of it, because those agents of chaos, it's like you're doing improv and someone completely breaks the reality that you're in to be the funny guy, but you're just halting all momentum. And I think you just need to bring that to the light to that person, because they might not also realize they're doing it. But having that conversation, I think, is really important, because that happens more often than we see. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just on it, be upfront about it. And if you're the GM, call it out. Don't be afraid to call it out, and just have that conversation. It might be hard, but conflict's hard, but we get stuff done and then we move forward. So
exactly. By kind of codifying it in a way that makes it feel like this isn't the end of the world if we have to have this conversation. Be casual about it. Oh, hey, hold on, quick time out. Let's talk about tone really quick. So I know we're in the middle of an emotional thing, and some people's reaction to tension is to crack a joke, but let's let these 2 players have their moment and just sort of be observant of it, and then go right back into it. And if it doesn't, as long as you don't build up this okay, I'm so sorry to have to do this, and I'm going to make a really big deal out of pausing in the moment. So if you make it feel like a calm part of just the playing of a game is to have meta conversations around how the play is going, then it's a little easier for everyone to like take feedback as you go.
Yes.
And making that difference too. Like, I think like, there's a difference between breaking the reality or making a group splitting decision that might get you angry at each other, but you're in character. I think that's two completely different things. And when we're in Mass Effect Adventum, oh my gosh, it's very Mass Effect, where we have very big choices we have to make that literally change the course of the game. Bert is such a great GM. And anyways, but like we have this conversation where like, before and after, it's like, whatever happens in the game, we know that it's in the game. There's nothing personal. We literally say like this is how my character would act. And that's a different kind of conversation than, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think I love everything you guys are saying. I think communication is really key. And I unfortunately think a lot of times people, and this is something we just do in society in general, right? We don't bring things up, right? We just like, oh, I'm just so pissed off at this other player. I hate this guy. I'm getting madder every time. I think it's important, and something that's what I do, man. And a lot of times I'll actually, if I'm a GM or a player, I'll just talk to them afterwards, one-to-one. And I'll just say like, hey, man, I love playing with you. You're so much fun. This is great. This one thing though, like it was just not quite as fun. And can we maybe find a way to do this where it's fun for both of us? And I never put it as like, I'm attacking them or anything, right? It's like, dude, you're great and I love it. Can we just make a little change here? Or can we find a way to come together?
Yeah. Also, I mean, go ahead, Matt.
No.
Omar, go ahead.
if it's gonna go all night because this is what happens when Matt and I hang out.
It's so true, man.
If you are crafting your own game and you've got a lot of kind of control over where you're going in the next session, it also is sometimes fun to then throw two conflicting characters with two conflicting play styles into a situation that challenges both of them. Yeah. Where if someone is like an agent of chaos, suddenly they have to go to this like debutante ball and have to like charm their way through everything, and they cannot get caught. And then the other person's assisting them, and it turns out everyone at the debutante ball are all vampires. And then suddenly the chaos person's like, all right, now you watch what I do, and we're gonna go slay all these vampires. And so you get to kind of shift, and you get to show each other's values, and see each other, through each other's like point of views. And that's just kind of like another fun thing you can toss in if you've got that creative control.
Yeah. And then to add on top of that too, I think another thing is in any group, like, if I'm GMing, I make sure that we have like, like a safe word or a knock, or if we're ever breaching a point that might make someone uncomfortable, we don't want people uncomfortable. So we have like something that you could say like timeout or like knock on the table 3 times.
Like an X card idea, right? Like a lot of some games use now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm happy. That's really important. I feel like I'm normally the one that's like session 0 and safety tools. So I'm glad I'm not the first one to say it, but have a session 0 and have safety tools.
Yes.
Can you tell people what that agrees?
Yes. Session 0 is so important.
Yeah. Yes. I will let Matt talk about session 0s. I will quickly outline safety tools. That is just the sort of like mechanics that you have in the game that allow for everyone to check in with people throughout the game. An X card is kind of the obvious one, where if you're playing in person, there's a physical card that you can interact with. If you ever hit content that you're like, hard stop, I don't want this, I don't like where this is going. Sometimes it can be for content that can be perceived as triggering or like overly dramatic. Sometimes it can be like a line item veto. If like an NPC, you're like, oh, you introduced a really hot NPC and then you named them after my ex, please, can we just something else? And just having that sort of conversation that happens passively without having to talk about it all the time. Like there's ways to check in, like the little knock at the table. There's a really cool like safety rose for like dramatic interpersonal scenes, sometimes romantic, where people can like have their hands on different colors just to make sure you're checking in like at a stoplight, like, hey, this is like a really dramatic moment. If it ever becomes too much, like please move to yellow or to red and we'll end the scene. So there's a bunch of things you can look up online. Kiana Shaw's TTRPG Safety Toolkit is an excellent place to start. And there's lots of ways where you like, and different like kinds of things you can bring into games. For Zoom calls, I use the Zoom chat all the time, and I check in with my players with just like an O question mark. I'm like, I can't tell, we all live in Los Angeles for the most part. And like, I can't tell if you're going for an Oscar here in the middle of our Zoom D&D game. So like, I'm going to ask because you're actually crying right now. So like having constant check-ins and passive communication above and below game is like an important way to go forward and make sure that things don't get progressed to the point where it feels uncomfortable or there's like a blow up. about
Yeah.
games.
And then adding on to that too is a session having some sort of having a session 0, which I think is not only is it super important to lay out the ground rules of like the campaign, but it's also just like super fun.
Yeah.
It's super fun. A system that does it really well is the Kids on Brooks system and Kids on Bike system. Omar and I actually just did a Kids on Brooms campaign, and like you literally build out the school, the world, the people, whatever, and it's a lot of fun. But the most important thing about a session 0 is like it's just a time for you all to kind of meet before you actually start your campaign, talk about your characters. You don't have to reveal any secrets or anything that but like give a general idea of who you are, talk about anything that you're not okay with, if there's any like topics that you find triggering, then that you don't want to explore. You mentioned that your GM takes note of that. There's like a whole ton of stuff that you want to kind of lay out in the beginning of it, even like character pronouns and stuff like that, and and on top of that, like there might be like, for example, I haven't done this, but I know like Bert has like, I have friends who have GM'd with like someone, for example, who's like a Chinese descent or something, and they want to bring in like a character who's like their grandpa or like their aunt, so the GM has to portray that. So like they talk to the GM does like, look guys, look, you don't have to be stereotypical. You just make a strong character decision, make strong character choices. But, you want to make sure that you do your best to like not be in the story to like do anything that might be like inappropriate or anything like that. So you want to talk with that person who has the background, who wants to explore it with the GM, and make sure you're like on the same page with all that stuff.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, session 0 could get so many things later on, man. It can just take care of all that stuff.
I think I covered everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Connective tissue. That's also a good place to talk about like tone and cadence. So once you establish what the tone's going to be the whole time, if someone breaks tone, it's really easy to say like, hey, we all agreed that we're going to do like this like spooky serious game. So please stop making fart jokes in the background, because this is something we all talked about before. And that way it doesn't have to be like an accusatory thing. Like we all agreed that this was like the thing that we're trying to do. So like,
and you kind of nip all that stuff in the bud, like in the
100p.
beginning. Yeah, 100p.
All right, awesome. All right, let me. This is one of our Super Geeked Up viewers who sent in a question. This is from Kathy Evans. Thank you, Kathy, very much. She asked, "What RPG games would you recommend to new players?" Omar,
Great question.
Go ahead.
Powered by the Apocalypse. Okay, go.
Yeah, well, hey, that's what I agree with that. But go ahead, Omar.
I'm just gonna throw out real quick, lasers and feelings. If you have a couple D6, which are your standard, when you imagine dice, that's what they look like, unless you're thinking of like a D20. And you play, it's just a great free game. You can just Google it and find it. The creator is a super just chill dude. And I highly, highly recommend that one. You're just on a spaceship. You get to roll out your entire mission. It's just a ton of fun, and you don't have to stress about it at all. It's just good.
That's awesome.
Nice. Aabria, you Powered by the Apocalypse? Is that what you were mentioning?
Yep, I'm a huge fan. It's also used 2 6-sided dice, like the ones that come in like Monopoly boxes. And like the playbooks are really easy. They're like one sheet of information. There's a bunch of like moves that everyone does, which is like, think about a thing, do a hit, run away, and Gryffindor. Like they're super easy to like understand.
Gryffindor.
And they're usually like really like contained to tell like a specific type of story. So like Apocalypse World is like, yo, let's do Mad Max. Demigods is like, let's do Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So you can find something that like edges into exactly the kind of story you want to tell without having to worry about like, how do I adapt like Pathfinder to do this very specific thing. So there's usually already like a PBTA hack that's like ready to go.
Yeah, I love Apocalypse games. It's one of my favorites. Great choice. Going along with, by the way, folks, these are considered usually rules light games is what they're called, because they're not so heavy on the rules. Another rules light game I would recommend is the Fate system.
Yes.
I will specifically say Fate Accelerated if you're really brand new. That is literally only like 6 things, 6 stats. That's it. And you just roll Fate dice, which are these plus and minus dice. They're really 6-sided dice. It's really easy. Its Fate system is great because you can create any kind of genre or world you want. Right now, I am actually running a game called Young Centurions, which uses the Fate Accelerated, and it's where you're playing these pulpy teen heroes in the 1930s, think young Indiana Jones kind of characters. So
That's
it's
awesome.
Kind of fun. Yeah, I love running it, man. It's so much fun.
You know what's
That's
and
so
if people want to get into, if people excuse me, hold for sirens.
Yeah, there's a lot of us
Los
live in
Angeles,
Hollywood.
baby. If you want to get into D&D too, I think 5th edition is so accessible, and not just that, D&D Beyond. Not to plug. Here's a plug for D&D Beyond, but
Hey, is D&D Beyond sponsoring us?
that's a good question.
Yes, this panel is
So,
presented by.
But like that, if you use that app, it is so user friendly. It is so user friendly. It walks you through like your character sheet, like your traits. It is such an incredible app that if you want to venture into Dungeons and Dragons, I highly recommend just trying D&D Beyond. I don't work for D&D Beyond, but it's a great
Yes, I completely agree.
If we're going to do plugs, I'm also going to plug Roll20 for that.
Yes.
Roll20 has character, like it's great for 5th edition D&D because it's got like character sheets and stuff built in and map functionality built in. And there's a bunch of like other kinds of games on there. And I do want to shout out that my actual favorite RPG of all time is a deck of cards. There's no dice involved. It's called For the Queen. You can actually play it on Roll20.
Yes.
It's amazing. You just answer questions and
I love
decide
that game. I
things.
have it. I played it many times.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
So
also
good.
that, and you don't have to have physical stuff because I know there's lots of people who are like, I don't want physical paraphernalia. Like, answer questions on a website on the internet and tell a story. You did it.
And folks,
if
again,
you-
if you haven't heard of Roll20, I know we mentioned it again. It's free to use. There's paid versions, but it's
Yeah.
totally free to use. It's a site where you can just go on there, and there actually are character sheets for almost every game you probably could imagine that you would just fill out online. They're already designed for you, and then you roll the dice online there, and so everybody can see what you're rolling. And GMs can put up maps and all that cool stuff if they want, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really cool system. I would check it out because again, it's totally free.
Yeah.
And if you want something really, really boiled down, I did a podcast a while ago with a few of our friends, Mia, Kelly, and Chris, where it's called Thank You for Questing. And our system was you just roll. I was the GM, and I sort of created this world for them to play in. But I would be like, here's 5 shops. Which one do you want to go to? And they'll choose which one shop. But if they wanted to change anything in the universe, they would roll a d20 against me, and whoever got the higher roll got to decide if which option landed. So for example, we were in a submarine for our February storyline, and then Chris Bramante was like, can this submarine be in the sky? And I was like, it can't, but if you roll higher than me, it's gotta be. And then he rolled, and then Chris won, and so the rest of that was like it was in the sky, like it was just became this blimp, and that became a huge element of the story. And like people opened doors to go outside, and the wind sucked them out and stuff. So it's if you want to take that's not copyright or anything. That's just you roll a d20 against the GM rolls a d20 against the players, and then whoever gets the higher one gets to decide the next little bit, and then you continue the story. So
Yeah.
And Omar actually ran that after our panel at 2019 Comic-Con.
yeah, we played a game. That was great. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. We went to wine country.
You went to what?
We went to the wine country. We went to like a winery,
that
and
was
then
what they
they
decided.
proceeded to it was nuts. It was great.
That's amazing. My high fantasy takes place in Temecula.
Sorry, folks. That's a very Southern California joke.
Yep.
I don't live there anymore, but I did.
WonderCon. It's in Southern California.
I know, but it's virtual, so not everybody watching.
Ah,
Go
Google
to
it.
Google Maps right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Like pause
Leave a
the
good
video,
review for
look up Temecula.
Sorry, make it Santa Barbara. Everyone's seen Sideways.
There we go.
Let me follow up to Kathy's question. So we don't talk about this a lot. What RPGs would you guys recommend to parents who want to play with their kids? Because sometimes they hear parents and they're like, I really want to play with my kids, and what's like appropriate or what's good,
Thank you for
Man.
questing.
That
That's
would be
perfect.
good. That would be
Yes.
good.
Oh.
That's literally perfect.
Yeah, that actually is perfect.
Actually, Omar, can they get the rules online somewhere?
Yeah, I believe if you go to thankyouforquesting.com, let me just check really quickly while we're all talking.
Okay, while
to
he's
make sure
doing that,
it's
Matt,
still-
what would you suggest?
This is driving me crazy because I can't remember the name of the system, and it's not helpful if I don't know the name, but it is literally like a D&D adventure book made for kids. It was a module that was kind of played like a storybook. So it was I ran this for Malika and Zach and Danny Montooth at Hyper RPG, and it was a lot of fun. But it was like it was like a storybook, but D&D. And I don't remember the name of it, but it was so kid friendly. And I'm also gonna look this up right now because we have the internet, and I'm gonna find the
Yay!
thing because it was so accessible for kids. I thought it was perfect.
All right, while you're Googling it, I have another answer other than the thing I just heard that I got excited about. I have played Laser Ponies with young kids that I've tutored, and like my little nephew actually really enjoys it a bunch. It's my Little Pony kind of, just sort of what it like, kit out your weird favorite pony and then go on like very lighthearted adventures using the sort of reference set for young children's cartoons as like a basis for your
nice.
world. It's great.
Love it. I'll mention something I think Matt mentioned earlier, but the Kids on Bikes and Kids on Broom series, I think, is really
so good.
cool. Kids on Bikes is like set in the 80s, and you're these kids, and Kids on Brooms is basically Harry Potter, which is what I've always wanted to be, go to Hogwarts. But again, they're pretty simple systems, and also like Matt mentioned, there's great questions that you go through before they even play the game, and I think those are awesome. Like, what a great!
They're so fun.
It's fun just to do that, and you get the characters, how they're related, and what the story's gonna,
Yeah, and you start I love that it makes you roll this like I know, like I rolled a 17 and about Jeff's character. It means I know a secret about him.
Right.
Like it's like it forces you to have these perspectives already, which makes role playing so much easier. I'm obsessed. I can't find the name of this book.
No,
that's okay, because I'm gonna recommend also Kick Butt Chew Bubblegum, which you can find a kid-friendly name to say it. But that system is literally like, you have 6 pieces of bubblegum. If you want to do something super cool, you're gonna have to roll above a 6. If you don't, you like have to chew a piece of bubblegum and you go down. But the point is, when you lose bubblegum, you get stronger, so it gets easier to like succeed at whatever super cool thing you want to do. And it's really made for Crazy Town Banana Pants, and like kids could have a blast with it. So
Crazy Town Banana Pants, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw also in, because I played it with Kelly Nugent over at Hyper, and we just had a really good time. Babes in the Wood. It's a really, really simple game. It's very similar to Over the Garden Wall in terms of like, tone.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's like that kind of era, like 1920 to 1949. Really, really simple to play. You can find it online. And then for all the thank you for questing stuff, what I'll do is when this goes up, I'll just hit me up on Twitter. I'll just tweet out links to the PDFs. So just to make your lives easier.
Okay. So yeah, folks, he's at Omar Najam there.
Yes. Real simple, real straightforward.
Thank you. All right. Awesome. All right, here, let's do another fun question, and then we'll get back into it. What tabletop RPG world would you guys want to live in if you could live in any of these worlds?
Oh,
I mean, when I just said Kids on Brooms, I was like, I do want to be like Harry Potter. But I think I'll do an apocalypse game, since Aabria mentioned it. I'll go action movie world, because that's a game where you're playing your actors in roles of an 80s action movie, over the top 80s action movie. And that's when I grew up, and I love 80s action movies. So I just want to be in an 80s action movie.
dope.
just wanting to be in something reminds me of what I would want to be in, which is this anime RPG from like the 80s, which is called Teenagers from Outer Space, which is like I think there's a new anime RPG that just came out like last year, but this was the only one for a long time. And it's literally you're living out in an anime, and like all these bonkers characters make sense in the groundedness of this world. So I would definitely want to live in that world because it'd be super expressive.
That's awesome.
And fun.
I want to be an anime.
Yeah, and I could take a hit without like really getting hurt, you know?
Yeah.
Also, I think Teens in Space is also like a Kids on Bikes like spinoff. So I love that you are very in this wheelhouse. It's very good.
I might be mixing it up. I gotta look this up because maybe it was something. I'm pretty sure it was that, but
Nice.
double check.
Dunk. Yay.
Aabria, what about you? What RPG world would you
No,
want?
I didn't have an answer right away.
All right, Omar, we'll give you another minute.
Right now, I'm playing in Power Play, which is a show on Sunday evenings, and we play ad infinitum's Icons, and I really like it. It's kind of like a very boiled down superhero RPG that makes sure that everything is kind of balanced, and it's very nice and paced. Instead of being like you're now level 20, you're gonna go punch buildings. It's like you get to like explore yourself and learn a lot about yourself. So I'm gonna say that because it feels, especially with our game, the way that Rick runs it, feels very much like our world. But I do get to be a ghost. So.
I didn't expect that sentence to end that way. That one got me. Thank you.
Okay, wait, I have one more. So Aabria maybe still thinks there. So this game is called Hearts of Wulin. It's actually not officially out yet, but I got to play it twice because there's playtest material out there, and so an awesome woman GM'd it. and you're basically playing like I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but Chinese wuxia, wuxia. Is that how you say it?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically like you're playing like a martial arts
That's
movie,
dope.
setting like
Oh yeah.
Hell
set back in the day in China. And I all those Hong Kong martial arts movies, like that was my thing, man. I always loved those. Jackie Chan, John Woo, Michelle Yeoh, all those people.
Dope.
So getting to play that and like be characters like that was just awesome. So I would totally be in that world.
Okay, I do have my answer, and it's like a weird one because what a terrible world to live in. But I got to run a game of Hack the Planet, which is a Blades in the Dark game that's like climate change cyberpunk. And it's like the weirdest world of like, here, have your like capitalism run amok, like cyberpunk, like dystopia, and now add violent climate change acts of God on top of it, just like world shattering events. But you get a cool motorcycle. So you're good. Like I would want to do that. It would be terrible. I would die immediately because I personally am a frail and shy and retiring flower, but it would be a cool world to live in for like 12 seconds before I died in a very stupid way.
Nice. All right. All right, cool. Let's go. I got another Super Geeked Up viewer question here. This is from Anthony Davis. Hey, Anthony, thank you very much for sending this in. He asks, what's the best thing a GM can do when a player does something the GM doesn't expect? Oh, not that ever happens.
Yeah.
Could that even happen?
Oh my
Very
gosh.
rare.
And yes, and 100%. Like so much of good GMing is just chasing your players' fun. And if they zag on you, that means that they cared so deeply that they came up with a lateral solution to like whatever was presented to them. And as long as it doesn't like break the game in a way, like chase it. I love rewarding players for like coming up with something. I'm like, if you can actually surprise my brain that tries to like obsessively think of every permutation of how something can go, like I gotta give it to you because you like stumped me. Like, okay, well, let's go see what that submarine in the sky does. All right.
Yeah.
And then I personally find it fun to like just kind of be throwing railroad track just ahead of my party as they like turn down a weird corner. I know that can be really stressful for a lot of GMs, but I still highly recommend that you start from a place of yes and then work your way through it.
Yes.
That's a great, I love that. I love that answer. It's awesome.
For me, I think it's like, I have to like, I take a breath and I repeat. I learned this from Bert from Mass Effect. I take a breath and then I repeat like, so let me get this straight. Because it gives me time to like think about what's happening and process. So let me get this straight. Yep. You want to Fast and the Furious drift this spaceship, like. And you roll a nat 20 and you're like repeating the question back to him. It gives me time to like figure out how I'm going to incorporate it. But then it's like, yeah, you know what? You do it. Good for you. We'll make it happen. And then you just have to, you have to adjust. And remember that part of this is that like, you have guidelines and like a lot of the times they're going to get ripped apart, thrown away. So you have to, make adjustments on the fly. So. Yeah.
And I love what you're I'm sorry, Omar, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead, Jeff.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I love what you were saying, Aabria, about saying yes, because I try to always do that because I feel, I've been in games where I feel the GM always wants to say no.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And I always want to say yes. And that's why I think I love GMing the Fate system, because that's very player involved in coming up with the world and the story. And I rely a lot on the players. But also a lot of times, like when I do that, like I don't even have a set thing in mind. Like I am improvising a lot of it, but I like that because it lets the players really do kind of what they want. Right. And I'm just going to, all right, we're just going to I'm going to go where you guys send me. And that's
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's I love, and I think this is a big thank you for questing thing, which they played up a lot for laughs as well, which in terms of getting in my way as much as possible as the GM, but reacting through your NPCs, I feel like gives you a chance to, if you do have any sort of confusion, it doesn't come from like the voice of God that a lot of GMs have, where it's like, well, okay, we'll see. It's more of like, they're like, yeah, all right, we're going to steal the statue. And you did not intend for them to steal the statue from the town. And you can have just like a shopkeep come up and be like, why are you taking the statue? And then they can respond and be like, oh, we're not, we're just borrowing, and you get to build a scene from that decision.
Yes.
Instead of being like, oh, I've now got to compensate for this and pull the strings in the back. You get the environment to be like, we're panicking. The story itself is like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
That's really smart.
Also, I think just a tip for people, because I think we're all speaking from a place of like streamed games and having to react in the moment while still smiling and keeping the flow up. My favorite thing, and I used to tutor, I used to like GM for a bunch of kids that I tutored, so they would love to just like curveball. I used to just say, yeah, like if they offered something really weird, I would say, yes, hold, and just call a 10-minute break and go think about how to make that work. Like, if you can take a break, just go walk away. Be like, all right,
100%.
everyone go eat food.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out how to make this make sense for 10 minutes. We'll reconvene.
yeah, that's a snack box moment.
That's great. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
I know, because I always feel I have to do it like right then. That's super smart.
Yeah. Yeah. Give yourself the time. Like, if you're like, okay, I can figure it out if I didn't feel that immediate, like, you can feel that burst of adrenaline as a DM. Like, you just go into bullet time, like, oh no, what have you done?
Yeah. Oh, actually, I have done that before, because I'll be like, let's take a pee break, and then I'm going to go think about it.
I think there's something really cool. Like, I want to destigmatize the GM needs time to think. I'm your Xbox right now.
Yeah.
Give me 5 minutes. I'll make it work, but I didn't prepare this part.
Yeah,
Go away for a second.
Even when you go and you do something in Breath of the Wild, the game's got to take a second to do the little load thing and be like, you do something in Animal Crossing, you go into new rooms, your little island goes floaty because it's like, give us a sec. We didn't realize you were going to go.
This is like
Father
the GM
Isabel.
load screen, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. GM load screen.
I will say too that if there's something that's like super story breaking, like it's like super insane, I think what I like to do is like I can reward, but like I like level it out a little bit to like kind of make it work in this world. So that's also an option if you're like comfortable with that as well, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great.
Cool. All right.
But I like to reward. I was like, yeah, you're a marshmallow. Have it.
Are you happy?
Listen, when you play games at Hyper, that is a recurring
Big fact.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. All right, here's another viewer question from Super Geeked Up. This is from Scorpio Moon. Hey, Scorpio, thanks for sending this in. This is a fun one. What's your most funny / embarrassing RPG decision a character of yours has ever made?
Oh, I got one off the
Okay,
top
Matt,
of
go
my
ahead.
This is gosh, we were trying out back at Hyper. We were doing. Sorry.
I already enjoyed this.
We were.
I think I know where this is going.
We were playing the system to let Emily practice GMing in Dungeon World. I think was the system because it was like a test for her
This
to
is
run that.
Apocalypse, right? System. Yeah.
Or is it Dungeon? Is the one? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
that was the one she. Yeah, because she was practicing GMing with that system because she was gonna run the Rat Queens RPG. So we were playing and it was already like getting off the rails and stuff. But there was this moment where she laid out this puzzle, and it was like she said it like 4 times, and it was like a color coded puzzle where I had to like press the colors in the correct, like Simon, in the correct order and stuff like that. And I just like didn't hear anything she said because I was probably worried about because I was a social media manager and community manager, and I was working while playing these games, so I didn't hear her. And so I was like, all right, I put the code in, and she's like, what's the code? And I'm like, and then she made me say it, and I like said 3 a color. I was like purple, green, yellow, and like everyone's cracking up because they know it, and I didn't know it. And I added like a color that wasn't even said, and it was like there's a clip of it. Bert's laughing. If you guys don't know Bert Jennings, he has this this happy laugh, and everyone's cracking up, and she like totally punished me for it, and it was just, she was so mad at me. She was so mad.
Kind of leapfrog off of Matt, and then internalized that riddle game, that puzzle room, and introduced it to us when we were playing his Kids on Brooms game, and all of us exact same thing. Where Matt's like, "It's very simple. It's red, white, blue, green," and we're just like, "Well, it can't be that." Absolutely no way he would just tell us. And Matt was like, no, seriously, we've got 17 minutes left. I've got to wrap up like this giant mythology. And we're just like, okay, let's go with orange. And he's like, no, please don't. Like, please don't do this. We have to finish tonight. Like, we can't set this game.
Oh man, the player brain cell, that one shared just nugget of thought that you have to split with 11 people at the table is just what a struggle. Gosh.
Okay, now Omar, you have to introduce that to some other game and punish them.
Yeah,
with that.
Cycle must continue to ring.
Yeah, you're right. In 7 days, I got to GM a game that does that.
Nice.
Aabria, could you think of any like kind of funny or embarrassing?
Mine's also from Hyper on Troll Hunters, where I was playing a character that was modeled off of like a Disney princess turned ranger, and everyone was like, it was like towards the end of a game, and they're like, we think you're about to be like offered the like deck of many things, like don't do it, don't, like it always goes so badly. I'm like, how badly could it go? My character turned evil and it had to be an evil NPC for like half the campaign. It was wild.
Gosh, Troll Hunters was the most embarrassing show in general for me.
So
I will say this: if you do a voice, you're stuck with that voice.
You have to do it forever.
I chose a voice for that show, and it just came out when we started. I'm like, I don't know what this character's gonna be. But let's just try it out. And I was like, it's me. We have to go and save the princess. And like, I was just, they were like, what are you? And I'm like, I'm a puppet. You know, like it was just the most ridiculous. And I was stuck with this stupid voice forever.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I think that's like my super answer is, as a GM, anytime I give an NPC a weird voice, because my players will be like, we keep this NPC and you have to do the voice every week. I'm like,
yeah.
No.
But it's memorable. But it's memorable.
Yeah.
You know? I had this character that would say punk rock. He was like a salesman in like my One Piece. I had a One Piece like RPG for a bit, and he was like he was like moving around. And I was like, yeah, punk rock. It was fun. He'll be back at some point.
All right. So speaking of characters, then, so sometimes players have a tendency like to play the same character, like a lot of times, which is cool. But what if they maybe want to say, oh, I want to try something totally different now, like something totally different than what I've done before. But maybe they're a little nervous about that, right? Because they're like, oh, this is kind of, I'm not super comfortable with this. Any suggestions of like how to make them like kind of do that or get more comfortable about it? Omar?
You know, I'm going to throw out, because I, when we were playing Monsters and Fables, I was playing as a barbarian, and I'm always like, I either try to charm my way out of stuff or I just sneak past. And this was a character I was playing Mowgli that was just like, no, I'm going to tear things apart with my bare hands. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. And I watched this YouTube channel, The Dungeon Dudes, and they kind of, what I like is when they're going to like a class or a race or an ancestry, they talk about different possibilities and different cultural inspirations. And that changed the gears for me a little bit, where I was like, oh, the way I consider like a barbarian or a ranger or something is one idea, but there's so many that you can explore. And so whatever I enjoyed about playing previous characters, I was like, what is the essence of that? What's the spirit of it that I can bring into a character that plays completely differently and is just going to go berserk and feral and just leap everywhere? But what is it? And what I discovered was that it was a character that was very shy and took a long time to like form relationships. And And so in that, it just became it became about, you know, charisma in a way. It became about charming someone, but it was more focused and slower. And so in that, I think, look at how everyone plays a character that you are hesitant to play, and then imagine how you could do it differently. And I think that's just a great way to open doors to some new play styles.
Nice.
Yeah. And on top of that too, if you're having a lot of trouble too, like something that is really just like an improv tool is something called an enneagram. And this is seen in a lot of comedy and sketch writing and stuff like that. And these are perspectives that you can kind of put on anyone. Like Arrested Development, every single character represents a different type of enneagram. You know what I mean? Like there's the hopeless romantic, which is Michael Jr. There's the mediator, which is Michael Sr. He wants to help everyone make sure, you know, like there's a Job is like the performer. He always wants to impress. So like there are these, and you spell it ENN. I had to make sure I spelled this right. ENNEAGRAM. Just Google that, and you'll see a list of these kind of character archetypes. You know that like there's the intellect. Like Spock is an intellect. Like he sees everything logically. Like you kind of see that through a lens, and then you just know that like whatever situation I'm going to get in, I'm just going to be through kind of this lens, and like how would a barbarian performer act? You know what I mean? How would how would a like an investigator, someone with an investigator lens, act as a bard? You know what I mean? Like you can have that kind of lens, and it kind of helps you narrow a point of view. And if you want to get like opposite from what you usually play, it might help you like really kind of zero in on that opposite. You know.
1,000%. I just want to jump in and say that like sort of on that like meta idea that whenever you play a character, you are playing an aspect of yourself, even if you think that you're playing something that's not at all like you. Yeah. So if your goal is like, I want to play something that's different from everything else I've ever played, find like the kernel of truth for yourself. Like, okay, what do I want to explore with this like tiefling warlock? Like, I remember when I was 15 and like the whole world was against me, and like I felt like this, I listened to this music, and like this is the stuff I cared about. Like have that as your seed, like in the same way that like lots of people that do accents all the time have like a grounding phrase of like, I have to say teapot so I can do a British accent. Like have some little notification for yourself of like, yeah, this tiefling warlock is 15-year-old me, like after my first big breakup. And then everything like exits like and comes from and flows from that like central truth. Because you always know yourself the best. And if you start with yourself, everything else will make more sense.
Mm-hmm. And it really like all those like kind of, you know, the different classes and even the enneagrams, like we've all been in those moments in our life. We're all human. We all experience these different kinds of emotions, whether it be jealousy, rage, fear, whatever. Like those are all kind of like jumping off points for you that you can narrow in on those personal experiences and kind of like, you know, add that to your character. So
yeah.
I'm just going to jump in really quickly. This is super specific to D&D. And this is a big part of Beyond, but I think background is maybe more important than race and class.
Hundo.
Absolutely.
Like, I think that's what you're playing. I think a lot of people go like, I'm going to play half orc. I'm like, go on.
What does that mean? That's just tall. What do you, why?
Exactly. I think it's that background where you're like, well, I'm a town hero. You're like, whoa, okay, cool. Like, I want to meet this character. So exactly. Just like combine all these and just look at that background, especially if you're playing D&D.
Yeah. And shout out to like, this is kind of an advanced tip piggybacking off that. There is so much third-party stuff on like DM's Guild and just all over the internet with lots and lots of backgrounds where you don't have to like limit yourself to like the 12 that you can see in like WotC's source books. I'm playing in a Rime of the Frostmaiden game on D&D's channel using a background that wasn't from Wizards of the Coast. It's polymorphed. I'm literally playing like an owlbear that got polymorphed into a Goliath by like an adventuring party and has to walk around and be a person. Like, okay, you have to wear clothes the whole time. Weird. Fine, sure. Thumbs are cool. Everything else kind of sucks. And like, yeah, so there's so much stuff out there. Go from the background first, for sure. I agree with that 1,000,000,000%.
Yeah, well, everything you guys said was amazing. That is so awesome. I love it. Thank you guys so much for sharing all that. All right, so I think, fortunately, we have to wrap it up now.
No, 2 more hours. What if we just hold the doors? No other panel can come in.
Right.
Who's up after us? JJ? Chris? Nolan? Who is it? Who's coming after us?
I will fight all of them. I'm not.
Kevin Smith's after us. Sorry.
Okay. You know what? Honestly,
he's lost a lot of weight. He's not. Pound for pound. I think I got him now.
All right. So, thank you.
Yes, you didn't think this panel was going to end with Aabria threatens to fight Kevin Smith, but here we are.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I hope that's trending. That'll be the hashtag. Trends on Twitter. All right, thank you guys so much. I loved your answers. I actually learned a lot from listening to you guys. You're great. I really appreciate it. I hope out there you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much. If you're watching, really appreciate you being part of WonderCon at home and virtual WonderCon. We really hope we get to do this with you guys in person soon in the not too distant future. Before we go though, where can people find you online? Let's start with Matt.
You can find me at the Matt Acevedo, and make sure to check out Ultimate Fictional Character Podcast, and make sure to check out Mass Effect Adventum, our tabletop RPG set in the Mass Effect universe. We after Mass Effect 2, it's like its own side adventure, and we've had some really great guests on, like the Jovenshire from like Smosh Games, and we've had a Mark Meir come on. He played a Vorcha, and so it's a lot of fun. Come check it out. You don't have to know Mass Effect to listen.
Nice, dude. I'm so excited about the Mass Effect in May.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
excited.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Aabria, where can they find you?
Sweet. I'm Aabria Iyengar. You can follow me on social media at Quiddy, Quiddie. I stream all over the place. And since I don't know when WonderCon's going to be, I don't know what to promo. So just follow me there.
She does stream all over the place. If
Yeah.
you look up
Kind
like
of a merc.
if you look up roleplay or TTRPG on Twitch, you'll probably see Aabria there.
Yeah.
WonderCon, by the way, will be March 27th to the 28th online.
Sweet.
Yes. Okay.
Cool.
I don't know if I'm going to be out of NDA for cool projects, so I'm just going to be quiet.
And look for her epic fights against Kevin Smith.
Yeah,
folks.
just catch me in the streets fighting Kevin Smith. That's my next big project.
Okay, next time I'm in person at like Comic-Con, I want to see you like hunting down Kevin Smith. Like you're just going through the whole con trying to find him.
Bring me Smith.
But it's gotta result in the Mallrats line of, you think because a guy reads comic books he can't throw down? Like, and if as long as we get that line of dialogue, we'll be able to
right.
shake hands.
Maybe
And
we
call
keep
it a
doing
day.
this. Maybe I can finally get Kevin Smith to do a panel or come on my show. We keep this up.
He's a very nice guy. I want to make it clear. We all
Oh,
like
yeah.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah, oh
He's
yeah.
a
Dude,
I
very
did his
nice
panels.
guy.
He's
He's
hilarious.
such a nice
He's
guy.
super
Yeah.
awesome and nice.
That's
He
why I
loves the
think I would win
fans.
this fight.
That's why we're having fun because he's a nice guy.
Never back down.
All right, Omar, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Omar Najam, and then on Power Play RPG, a show that's on Sunday nights, depending on where you are, I suppose. It varies in the hour. But you can check out Q Times. That's where that's streaming. And then if you just want to check a one shot that we did a adventure where, because we're a bunch of superheroes in now, we went back to the 1940s and we fought Nazis with special guest Darren DePaul. So if you're a fan of that gentleman's voice, which I know you are, if you've ever played a little game called Spider-Man, then check that out. It was a huge blast, and it's always fun to play. So yeah.
Awesome. Folks, you can find me at Super Geeked Up. Super Geeked Up is a geeky chat and improv comedy show we do every Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific at supergeekedup.com and on YouTube. We would love it if you come in or live chat. We have a lot of fun. Omar and Matt have been on it, and hopefully I'll have Aabria on soon, actually. So again, thank you guys so much. Thank you to Matt, Aabria, and Omar. Thank you guys for being awesome. Thank you to everybody watching. We appreciate it. Thank you to WonderCon. Thank you for letting us do this panel as part of the programming here. So hope everybody please stay safe, stay healthy. We hope to see you in person soon, and stay geeky, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Woo!